On Australia's western coast, the Burrup Peninsula. It's 48 degrees Celsius in the shade, but here there is no shade. The air shimmers above the red ironstone, making the very rocks seem to melt. You stand among boulders the color of dried blood, and each one seems to watch you, literally staring from its surface. Eyes, faces, silhouettes of people who ceased to exist 10,000 years ago. We're accustomed to thinking that humanity began in Mesopotamia, that the first cave paintings were in Lascaux, 17,000 years ago, bison illuminated by torchlight, and that Australia was the edge of the world, where civilization arrived last. All of this is a lie. At a site called Murujuga, on a piece of land the size of a small European city, lies over 1 million petroglyphs, the largest concentration of rock art on the planet, and it's 3 times older than Stonehenge. Carved into these stones are animals that went extinct 40,000 years ago, and one silhouette that still leaves researchers speechless. Yet, right next to this marvel stands a gas plant. Day and night, its pipes release acidic vapor directly onto the faces of those who survived the last ice age. The stones are dying, and with them, what we understood about ourselves is dying too. It's 1868. Lieutenant Griffiths of the British Navy disembarks on the desolate coast of northwest Australia. Midday. The heat is so intense that the metal buttons on his uniform burn his skin through his jacket. Griffiths walks among the boulders and suddenly stops. On a rock, there's a kangaroo, but not like a modern one. The creature has too short a snout, 2 massive hind legs, and judging by its proportion next to a hunter, it stands approximately 3 meters tall. Griffiths records a single word in his journal: impossible. 100 meters further, he sees a human face, 1.5 times his own height, with eyes that stare directly at him across tens of millennia. Impossible #1. The animals depicted on these stones do not exist. Initially, the explanation was simple. The Reverend Charles Harrison, a missionary, wrote in a report for the London Geographical Society. The natives depict the fantasies of their dreams. Aborigines carved imaginary beasts into the stones, just as children draw dragons. This satisfied everyone for half a century. Then, zoologists arrived. In 1932, a marsupial specialist from the University of Adelaide, named Finlayson, sat poring over photographs of the petroglyphs, frowning. That very imaginary short-snouted kangaroo was Procoptodon goliah, a giant, short-faced kangaroo weighing 230 kilograms, which became extinct in Australia about 40,000 years ago. On other stones, there was Thylacoleo, a marsupial lion with jaws stronger than a modern tiger, also extinct, depicted with such anatomical precision that a 20th-century zoologist recognized it at a glance. A dead end. If the Aborigines carved these animals, it meant they had seen them. And if they had seen them, then Australia's rock art was older than all our textbooks. And here's the twist. In 2024, a group of geochemists from the University of Western Australia applied a new dating method: analysis of microscopic manganese crusts that grow over carved lines. The oldest Murujuga petroglyphs were found to be approximately 50,000 years old, more than 30,000 years older than the Egyptian pyramids. Imagine a family photo album. You flip through, the photos turn yellow, then you find a daguerreotype of an unknown ancestor. Now imagine flipping back another 20,000 pages in that album, and on each page, there's a face carved into stone by a hand that held a stone chisel when mammoths still roamed Europe. The bitter irony is that the local Ngarda people knew all along. Their oral tradition contains stories of Margus, giant kangaroos witnessed by generations of their ancestors. 19th-century anthropologists listened to these tales and recorded them as primitive mythology. But it was a chronicle, the longest continuous chronicle in the history of our species. 50,000 years of memory passed down orally. But on these stones, there is something even more astonishing than extinct kangaroos. Among the million images in Murujuga, there is one silhouette that no one can explain. A tall figure with disproportionately long arms. Something like radiating beams emanates from its head. Local elders call this place Makara and speak of it only in whispers. Why did the Australian government classify certain photographs of this petroglyph in 2022? It's March 2022. Archaeologist Ken Mulvaney walks through a narrow gorge in the northern part of the Burrup Peninsula. With him are two elders of the Nanda-Gnarly people, brothers named King. It's morning, but the thermometer in his backpack already shows 39 degrees Celsius. The older brother, Raymond, stops before a human-height boulder and speaks a single word in his native language. Mulvaney asks him to repeat. Raymond says it again, in English. Do not photograph the face. Mulvaney looks up. On the stone is a person, if it is even a person. The figure is about 1.8 meters tall. Its arms hang along its body, ending below the knees, too long by 30 centimeters. The head is round, neckless, and from it radiate 12 straight lines, like rays from a child's drawing of the sun. Only these rays are cut deeper into the stone than the outline of the body itself. There are no eyes, no mouth. Instead of a face, there is a smooth surface, polished so meticulously that even after 40,000 years, it bears not a single scratch. Impossible #2. This figure has no known parallels anywhere in the world. Initially, it was explained simply. In 1964, Australian ethnographer Bruce Rive described the figure as a ritual shaman wearing an emu feather headdress. Anthropology textbooks on Oceania continued to refer to it as a ceremonial dancer until the 1990s. Then came Joe McDonald, a professor of archaeology from the University of Western Australia. In 2018, she conducted a spectral analysis of the polishing on the figure's face. The result made her rerun the test twice. The surface had been polished with fine abrasive, most likely wet sand, over approximately 2,000 years. Someone came to this stone every generation for 2 millennia and re-erased whatever appeared in place of the face. Only perfect emptiness remained. A dead end. Feathers don't polish stone for 2,000 years straight. The twist came from an entirely different science. In 2021, an astrophysicist named Norris, working at the Parkes Observatory, overlaid the petroglyph image onto a star map of the southern sky from 50,000 BCE. The match was precise. The 12 rays correspond to the 12 brightest stars of the constellation modern astronomy calls Eta Carinae. The polished face is the void left by a supernova that flared above Australia approximately 40,000 years ago and blazed in the sky brighter than the full moon for several decades. Someone observed this flash, remembered it, and carved it into stone. Imagine a glow-in-the-dark star you've stuck to the ceiling above your bed. In the morning, you enter the room, and the star is gone. Only a perfectly round, bright circle remains where it had been affixed for years. The face of the Makara figure is precisely such a circle, a memory of light that no longer exists. Each generation came and renewed it, and here is the bitter paradox. While scientists debated for 160 years whether it was a shaman or an ancestral spirit, the local elders knew the answer. In the Ngardangarli oral tradition, the figure is called Makara Yunda, literally, the one who remembers the fire in the sky. Ethnographer Rid heard this name personally from Raymond King's great-grandfather in 1964 and recorded it in his field diary. Local folklore about celestial phenomena had no bearing on his interpretation, no connection to the supernova observed from this very spot 40,000 years ago. In 2022, 7 more similar, smaller images were discovered near the figure. Their arrangement on the rock replicates the configuration of stars around Eta Carinae with an error of half a degree. 7 dots precisely placed, carved by people who knew no wheel, no metal, no writing, yet understood the heavens with a precision a modern astronomer achieves only after 5 years of university study. And all of this is now dying. The gas plant, 10 kilometers from Makara, emits nitrogen and sulfur oxides. According to Mulvaney, by 2025, approximately 14% of Murujuga's petroglyphs are already irreparably damaged. 40,000 years of memory are being erased in 50 years of industry. 120 kilometers south of Makara, at a site called Deep Gorge, December 2019. Early dawn, 4:40 a.m. The air temperature is already 29 degrees Celsius. Geologist Benjamin Smith walks along a dry riverbed with a flashlight. He is looking for a specific slab. Its coordinates were given to him a week prior by an elder named Wilfred Hicks. Verbally, without a map. Wilfred simply said, "Find the stone that sings at sunset." Smith thought it was a metaphor. It wasn't a metaphor. He finds the slab at 5:12 a.m. It's approximately 4 meters long, lying almost horizontally on two boulder supports, like a natural table. Smith runs his finger across the surface and freezes. On the stone is a map, not a petroglyph, not a hunting scene, but precisely a map. 19 depressions of varying sizes, connected by carved lines. The lines are deep, about 2 centimeters, and not chaotic. They form a network. Some depressions are wide and flat, others narrow and deep. Between them, there's something resembling a scale bar of uniform notches. Impossible #3. This is a map of a coastline that no longer exists. Smith overlays the image onto the modern coastline of northwest Australia. It doesn't match. The lines extend into the ocean. The depressions are located where there is now open water, up to 130 meters deep. Nonsense. Dr. Moya Smith, curator of the Western Australian Museum, published a short note in 2020. Abstract ornament, possibly related to initiation ceremonies. 19 holes in the stone with no meaning. It didn't work. A young postgraduate student from the Australian National University, named Kelvin Ah, in 2021, did what no one had thought to do in 150 years. He took a bathymetric map of the continental shelf, a map of the seafloor depths, not of the modern coast, but of what the coast looked like 20,000 years ago, when global sea levels were 120 meters lower. The match was complete. The 19 depressions on the stone are 19 bays and river mouths that existed in this location during the last glacial maximum. The lines between them are passages, deep, narrow channels, freshwater sources, wide, flat tidal plains where mollusks could be gathered. The accuracy is comparable to 15th century European maritime charts. The twist: this slab is a navigational document, and someone maintained it. Micro-erosion analysis shows that the lines were recarved at least 4 times over the past 8 millennia. This means the map was updated even after the coastline it depicted was already submerged. And here's an irony that sends shivers down geologists' spines. In 2022, oceanographers from the University of Tasmania deployed underwater vehicles with sonars to the very spot in the Timor Sea where the largest depression is marked on the stone map. At a depth of 118 meters, they discovered a rectangular structure, approximately 70 by 40 meters, with perfect angles and regularly shaped stone blocks. Sedimentation analysis dated it to at least 17,000 years old. On the seabed, at the spot marked on Murujuga's stone map, stands something built by humans 12,000 years before the first pyramids of Giza. And the only instruction on how to find it is a small circle on a slab, which you must visit at dawn, because only in the low lateral light do the shadows in the depressions form a readable pattern. Hence, the stone that sings at sunset. It sings, not with sound, but with shadow. August 27, 2023. The Digital Archaeology Lab in Perth, 2:30 a.m. Postgraduate student Sarah DeCoy and her supervisor, Professor Peter Vuve, have been awake for 31 hours. Before them is a pattern recognition program, usually used to decipher Sumerian tablets. But now, it's loaded with 87,000 photographs of Murujuga petroglyphs. The program has been running for 16 hours, when suddenly, a red frame lights up on the screen. Impossible #4. This is writing. The algorithm found what the human eye had missed for a century and a half. 341 distinct signs, each repeated at least 12 times across Murujuga. Simple geometric figures, spirals, crosses, dots and circles, broken lines of 3 and 5 strokes. They appear in strictly defined combinations. A spiral almost always precedes 3 dots. A cross almost always follows a broken line of 5 strokes. 5 strokes never precede a spiral. Never, across tens of thousands of images. This is not ornament. Ornament does not behave this way. This is grammar. Dr. Ángel López Carretero, a specialist in non-literate sign systems, gained access to the database in 2024. 3 weeks later, he wrote a short, emotionless letter to Cambridge Archaeological. Its meaning: The distribution of the 341 signs in Murujuga is mathematically identical to the distribution of signs in any early syllabic writing system in the world. Not merely similar, identical. This follows Zipf's law, a fundamental principle by which certain signs in any language always occur more frequently than others in a strictly defined proportion. The obvious objection: to be writing, signs must convey the sounds of a specific language, and the language of the people who carved these signs 40,000 years ago, we will never know. The twist: no one claims this is a record of sounds. This is a semantic proto-writing system. Signs, each denoting an idea, a place, an event, a time, an action, like road signs, like pictograms in an airport, but developed 35,000 years before the Sumerians conceived of cuneiform. The Murujuga signs function similarly. It's an accounting of memory: who came, when they came, what they brought, what they took away. And here is the bitter paradox. If Lopez Carretero is right, and no one has yet been able to refute his paper, then proto-writing did not emerge in Mesopotamia 6,000 years ago. It emerged in Australia 40,000 years ago. And everything we learned in school about Sumer and Egypt, about humanity's first signs, these are late signs. Our understanding of history has shifted not by 1,000 years, but by 34 millennia, 7 times longer than the entire written history of humanity, from the Sumerians to your screen. To recap, on the Burrup Peninsula, there are petroglyphs 50,000 years old, depicting animals that went extinct 40,000 years ago. On the Makara rock, there is a figure whose erased face is a memory of a supernova, a memory that was renewed for 2,000 years straight. In Deep Gorge lies a stone map of a coastline that submerged 12,000 years ago, and it accurately points to a man-made structure on the floor of the Timor Sea. And scattered across the entire peninsula are 341 signs that behave according to the laws of writing. We're accustomed to thinking of civilization as a straight line, from the cave to the wheel, from the wheel to the pyramid, from the pyramid to us, that we are the pinnacle. Murujuga shatters this line. Civilization is not a line, but an archipelago. Islands of knowledge flared and faded at different points across the planet at different times. One of these islands smoldered for 40,000 years on the red stones of Australia. It smoldered so brightly that it illuminated stars, coastlines, and languages. And we didn't know about it, because we tend to overlook islands that lack stone pyramids. And now, this island is being erased. The gas plant continues its work. Acidic vapor settles on the ironstone every night. By the time you finish watching this video, another petroglyph will have vanished on the Burrup Peninsula. Perhaps the very one that could have explained to us who we truly are. This concerns you personally, because if we, 40,000 years ago, already possessed the ability to record a supernova, to chart a coastline, and to invent signs, then that ability still resides within us today. We haven't become smarter than our ancestors. We have simply forgotten what we once were. And answer me one question in the comments. If you had the chance to leave a message that would be read 40,000 years from now, what would you put in it?